Ernst, thank you very much for taking some time off your hectic campaign to promote racism and white supremacy in South Africa. To kickstart our discussion, I just want to know that I think I should ask you about your organization, Afriforum. I mean, in your website, you record that you just want to protect the interest of Afrikaners. So I want to know, do you really care about the 64% black South Africans who are living in poverty and their life is under threat?
Well, firstly, thank you for that very colorful introduction. It's the most interesting introduction I've ever had. So I'm very much looking forward to this conversation. The question is about Afriforum's positioning in terms of Afrikaners. Afriforum is a civil rights organization. We focus to protect the rights of minority communities because we believe the test for a well-functioning democracy is not simply whether there's majority vote, but whether minority rights are protected. So, yes, we do have a particular focus on the rights of Afrikaners, but it's not from an identity perspective, it's from a principle perspective. So it's not true that we are simply or only trying to protect the rights of Afrikaners. Our aim is to ensure that minority communities are also respected.
But in your website, you are very explicit that you've only focused on Afrikaners. Why Afrikaners? Why not other minority groups?
No, well,
why not the Khoi and the San?
That's definitely not on our website.
It is there, Ernest. But nevertheless, let's get to the discussion. I see that your racist agenda suffered a serious blow last week in the Cape Town High Court. You failed to stop Parliament from proceeding with land expropriation without compensation. So what's your next step as Afriforum?
Well, if you would describe that as a serious blow, you are welcome. Actually, all that happened is we approached the court regarding the irregularities in the process to amend the Constitution, and we believe that there's been certain serious irregularities up to now. And we approached the court about this, and all the court said was that this isn't an urgent matter. So it will still be heard in court. The only thing was it's not that urgent, so we're still going to have the matter, but it's just not going to be as soon as we would have liked.
It was indeed a defeat, Ernest, because in the collective wisdom of your lawyers, they thought that they could be urgent. Unfortunately, it was not urgent. But to get to the issue, what are the irregularities that you think happened in the process?
Well, there are many irregularities. One of them is the fact that the written submissions, 65% of the written submissions, which amount to several 100,000 submissions, have stated that they do not support expropriation without compensation. Other irregularities are with the organising of the public hearings, the fact that the purpose of this commission, parliamentary commission, is to determine whether the constitution has to be changed or whether expropriation without compensation has to be done. But while this process is going on, the state president has publicly announced what the outcome of the process would be. So in our view, it's just window dressing at the moment. But there's a long list of irregularities. Those are just three.
Well, the state president is entitled to his views as an ordinary South African, as the president of the republic, and his views will always be tested by the majority of parliament. But to get to the issue, Ernest, why don't you think that you should stop wasting your time in court and we as South Africans start dealing with the problem of skewed land ownership in South Africa, which shows that private ownership of land is about 72% in the hands of whites and only 14% in the hands of blacks. I mean, we should be engaged in a progressive discussion on legislation, which will ensure that once land expropriation without compensation has happened, the land does not stay in the hands of the political elite or those who are connected to the political elite. The land is not given to multinationals or international corporates who will gentrify our people and remove them for commercial purposes.
Well, we'll stop spending as much time in court when the ruling party of which you are a member stops violating our rights. If the question is about skewed patterns of land ownership, I think that's philosophically where we differ. I would assume that me and you would both agree that equality is very important, but I think our definition of equality differs. In the sense that you believe in equality of outcome and we believe in equality of opportunity. So to say that everything must represent the demographics of the country is a way of enforcing equality of outcome.
No, it's not. It's not. It is how, if you can't only be worried about outcomes when the injustice was done through inputs. If it has always been about outcome, it wasn't ever going to be about inputs. So the reality of the matter is that people were dispossessed land through various acts under colonialism and under apartheid. People were dispossessed land through wars of conquest. So it cannot be today that we're only discussing outputs and not the inputs.
Just to clarify, which wars of conquest are you referring to?
There are many wars of conquest where this Zinza and Skokonia fought war, Pambata Rebellion, and many other wars where our people were engaged in wars, and after the wars they took the land. Or are you not conversant with the history of South Africa? Maybe that's the problem.
I disagree with the ANC's version of the history of South Africa.
No, give us your version. Did you come with land? Did those who came here in South Africa
my ancestors came with exactly the same amount of land that your ancestors came with when they crossed the Limpopo River.
No, that's distorted history, Ernst, in which you are just distorting history to favor your version of events. But in reality, we all know and accept as a fact that there were wars of colonial conquest in Africa, and not only land was taken, but land and livestock. And we're just busy now with one process of land expropriation without compensation. We're still going to get to the issues to the other things which were taken with the land. So in my view, Ernst, but this is not the only issue of land expropriation without compensation. If I may ask, why are you so opposed to transformation? Why do you oppose Sasol giving black shareholders? Why are you opposed to Discovery doing the same? Why are you opposed to affirmative action? What informs these hostilities towards affirmative action?
Yeah, well, we are, I guess you could say that we share the view that your party's president in 1994 emphasized that people should not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. So we are not in opposition to empowering black people, but we believe enforcing it through state mechanisms, through preferential treatment.
Let's just go to the break, Ernst, and as soon as we come back, we'll take this discussion forward.